When we're talking about writing our story, we're talking about us as one of the main characters, right? Now, we talked about him being the main character, but we're one of the main characters. This is our story, right? So when we're talking about that, who is this main character, which is us? Who are we? Do we really know who we're writing about? As the story's been written, do we really know who we are? Now, so many times we feel we do, but a lot of times we don't truly know who we're writing about because day by day we change. We pick and choose how we want to feel, who we want to interact with, where we want to go, how we interact with the stuff around us, computers, technology, our job, who we want to talk to, who we don't want to talk to. Do we want to be angry, sad, or mad? So we spend so much time figuring out our life. And truth be told, when we try to write our own story, we spend more time in the planning phases than we do actually living our life. So we talked about storyboarding, right? We talked about figuring out who's in our life and who's not in our life. Think about how much time we spend character building. Who is this? Who is that? Who am I? Who's the villain in my story? Who's the hero in my story? Who's the good person? Am I the good person that I perceive myself to be? Or am I the person who's hurting that I really am? See, it depends on the day. You can be this champion or you can be in your house sulking. So who are you really? Do you really know who is the dominant emotional person in your life? A lot of times we don't. We can look in the mirror on any given day and get a different response as to what we look like, how we feel. We can stand in the mirror on Tuesday and be like, oh, I look good. I'm cute. I'm nice. My hair looks good. My makeup looks good. The way I got on looks good. I'm going to go out here and this going to kill them. And you step out there feeling good. Then next Wednesday you walk out, oh, I do not. Look, this, you should just be ashamed of yourself. Look what you done let. What is this? How is this looking? I can't believe I let it get this bad. But you just felt cute. That much don't change in a week. But you think about it, it's your mindset. You are the same person, but now you're looking at it completely different. And that is why so many times our stories don't get off the ground, because we spend so much time in this phase of trying to figure out what we even talking about. We don't know. We're just trying to live. And it's hard to write a consistent story when every day is just new and you're just trying to live. So when we think about it, what happens when you see something you don't like? Now you want to fix it. Now you want to correct it, right? Now the thing about it is, when we feel we got to fix something, we always feel we got to fix it before we start. We always feel we got to do everything before we actually start the process. All right, follow me on this. I want to lose weight. We've all said that before, right? All right, so now I want to lose weight. Cool, I got this. I'm going to do it this time. All right, I'm going to need some new clothes. I'm going to need some new shoes. I'm going to need one of those little monitors that track my mileage. I'm going to need some earbuds so that don't fall out. So when I go running, that I'm on the treadmill, they'll stay in. I'm going to need a good water bottle. I'm going to need a good towel, one of the ones that really wipe the sweat. And I don't like that outfit. Let me get this one. I'm going to need some new socks. I'm going to need a membership here, but I might need one there because they got a pool, but this one closer. So we'll just see. Both of them got a trial basis. Let's see what we like. I might need a personal trainer, but I'm going to have to interview them first to see if they got it, because I can't really be working with nobody that I don't really jive with. Then I'm going to, let me see, I need some headbands. I think that's everything. Now I'm ready. Truth be told, all you had to do was open the door and go walk. You didn't need all this stuff, but you got to go shopping, you got to do all this, and then you only do it for 2 weeks. And all that stuff that you bought for exercise, you just wearing the Target. It's cute. It'll work. How you think yoga pants got so popular? They weren't made for walking around, but they are now. So when you think about it, how much preparation do we put into stuff? We do that for vacation. If y'all go on vacation, all you got to do, you got a plane ticket, you got a bus pass, you got a boat pass, wherever you going, you got the ticket. I got to go buy clothes. I'm going to need some new shoes. I'm going to need some new luggage. I'm going to need some new this. You go get all this new stuff. Oh, I like this color and this color. So now you pack a whole suitcase full of new stuff with tags on it. Go to a place and people don't even know what your old clothes look like. If you wear your old clothes, they would be like, that look nice. They never seen you before. So you go here, you buy all this new stuff, and then you wear the same 2 outfits the whole 5 days because you don't want to iron the stuff that's in the bag. And then it come back, and now you can't wear it because it's cold where you at. But you went to a warm climate. Do y'all see what we doing? We went through all this preparation to go somewhere, not to even use it, but we stay in the preparation mode. Now you think about it. Getting married, getting a job, getting a house, having kids, everything. We always have to go through a long preparation. Now I'm not telling you shouldn't prepare, but think about how long you stay in it to when you actually do it. Now, from a spiritual standpoint, why don't you accept Christ? I'm not ready. Why not? I got to get myself ready. I got to change my life. I got to do these things. I got to do this. I got to do that. How long you been doing that? About 25 years. Has it worked? A little closer. Better than it used to be. You're just older. But that's how we think. So, people, we have a hard time getting started, but when we talk about Christ, a lot of times we want the fruits of the Spirit before we get the Spirit. We look at these things as accessories that we need before we move forward with God. I need all this stuff and then I can be effective. Of course you can. Because now you got all the tools, but you haven't accepted him. You haven't accepted his story. But you want all the blessings because now you can be like, I can move forward with this. Truth be told, if I gave you a bunch of money, you'd be like, yeah, I need a bunch of money. Then I could go live a pretty good life. I still get a job, but I just do whatever I want to do. That sounds pretty good, but we know that's not going to work. But that's the way we try to live every other part of our life. We try to go and get everything before we even start doing what we are supposed to do. So when we live like that, we take away a lot of what God wants for us. We try to become the author, and we try to give ourselves all the power. So we try to make Superman right here. Now, Superman, now you can go and do your thing because you got everything you need in order to live this life. And if we write that story, yes, it sounds fantastic, but it's not reality. So go to Psalms 46. Psalms 46. We have to make sure we know that he's in control. God is our refuge and our strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth give way and mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her. She will not fail. She will not fall. God will help her at break of day. So he has been there, he is here, and he will always be there in the future. He will always be around. He is an active participant in your life. Why is that important? In order to do the things that you have been set out to do, you may not notice what you have. You may not know your own strength because your strength is in him. But we have to move forward in our story without thinking, I got to go get ready for everything that he wants me to do. It's a part of his building process and building your character and who you are. So a lot of you don't feel like you have the tools that you need in order to be the person that you are. But in trusting him and knowing that he's an active participant in your life, you will be successful in everything that he set out for you to do. I will show you. When you look at every good story, we talked about it has a plot, a setting, characters, right? And we talked about it has to have some kind of conflict. When our story has a strong foundation, when it has a strong foundation, it can be successful. When your story does not have a strong foundation, it's going to lack consistency. Your plot's going to be all over the place because people trying to figure it out as they read through it. The character's going to be confusing. Y'all ever read a book and then you got to go back like, who in the world is Charles? I thought about him in the first chapter. Now he show up in chapter 40. I don't remember this man. So you all over the place in your story because there was no foundation that was built. A lot of times, the first few chapters of a book are pretty boring. It's a lot of structure that's coming in. Got to tell you who these people are. Got to give you a little bit of background. Got to build up till you get to the exciting part, right? But a lot of times, those people you see are there consistent throughout the story. We know who's who. But if you just kind of pick up and just go from day to July, a lot of times we haven't taken time to build up who we are. So Christ is the same way. This is our relationship with him. Look when you give God control. And I want you to go in Matthew 7, 24 through 29. Matthew 7, 24 through 29. When we give God control, good things happen. It says, therefore, everyone who hears these words, and this is Jesus talking, these words of mine, and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. When Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, because he taught as one who had authority and not as their teachers of the law. So notice he taught as one who had authority, which means he knew what he was talking about. Wasn't no second guessing. So what does this mean when you talk about building your house on a rock versus sand? Because we've heard this before. Notice the storms came. The rainwater rose. The wind blew on both structures. There was no difference. The main difference was what it was set upon, how it was looking, what foundation was underneath this house. So when you think about what God has put into place, he has given us all structure in how we should live, regardless of who you are, regardless of your background, regardless of the life that you live. When you make the decision to build your house on solid ground, those same winds that have knocked you down in the past, those same waters that have flooded you out in the past, that same rain that got in your house in the past will not. Now, from your standpoint, you don't want anything to do with the dangers of the world. None of us do, but we know they're there. And when you've experienced hardship, you start to think it's you that's less than. The house that I have is not built to withstand this world. Your house being you, right? Why do they look like they all right? Why he look like he all right? Why can't I have what they have? We start to look at other people. And then we start to see something. We say, oh, in order to get where I need to get to, I need money. I need education. I need this, I need that. Not knowing that just because the person may look a certain way, they're still going through a lot of pain. The only thing that separates us is the foundation. And what Jesus just told us is that foundation is either him or the world. Those are the only two options. Now, you can make the house look good, but that don't mean there's not turmoil inside. A lot of times, the only thing that a lot of the resources in the world gives you, it gives you better opportunity to hide. You've got a lot more things in front of you because you can look a certain way, you can act a certain way, you can survive a little bit longer with keeping up appearances. But, truth be told, nothing can heal you, nothing can sustain you except for God. So when you think about what you build your house on, what your story is based on, is the most important thing, because that is going to make sure that you have the structure and the right foundation in order to build something, in order to make your story great, regardless of where you are in your story. I got a lot more to get to. This is all my foundation. So check it out. When you talk about this, when you talk about giving control of your story to God, because now that my house is on the right foundation, now that I know I can sustain what the world is, I can focus on him. See, it's hard to focus when you know your house is not right. If I was right here talking to y'all today, knowing I had to be here, and my basement had flooded last night, I wouldn't be able to talk to y'all to make sense, because I'd be thinking, man, I got to get home, my house, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what kind of damage this is. I got to call the insurance company. I got to do it. I'm concerned about that because that's my house. There's something wrong at my house. If you woke up this morning, there was a hole in your roof and you had somewhere to go, that hole in your roof going to be on your mind all day because that is your house. That's your most prized possession. I got a hole in my roof. What am I going to do? I can't work. I can't focus. So when we fix that, how many of y'all thinking about your house right now? Not. It's there. It's safe. It's okay. But when your house is consistently being damaged, you can't focus on nothing else. So the first thing is choosing the right foundation. So now God say, okay, I'm protecting you against this wind that was blowing you down left and right. I'm protecting you against this water that was flooding your house. I'm protecting you against all these storms that's been knocking you down all your life. Why? So you can focus. Now you don't have to be worried about all that stuff. And it's so freeing. You need that freedom because you can't live if you always fighting. If every day you got up, you had to go fight, that's a hard life. You don't want to live that. So now he just took that away from you just because you made a decision. I'm building my house on you. All right, I got you. Now what? Now becomes the change. When you give him the pen to write your life, you now have the freedom to live your life. When you are trying to live your life day by day by day, you can't change. Why? Because you look at your life through other people. We consistently do. We can't help but. It's hard not to. Do I look like the person who I think I am? Am I the person that they expect me to be? Can I do this? Are they going to judge me? How do I look? How do I dress? How do I talk? When I change my life, will they think bad of me? See, a lot of people don't reveal who they are. They don't even talk about their pain. Why? Because they're supposed to be the strong one in the family. So they can't talk about their problems because everybody else come to them with theirs. So who they going to tell their problems to? Yes, I just swallow and deal with mine. A lot of marriages fail because people think the marriage is okay and they want to make sure the marriage looks okay, so they don't want to ask for help from nobody because everybody think it's good, and we can't mess with that. A lot of us go through this self-image thing because we don't want to change, because we look at ourselves through the eyes of the world. Why? Because when we look out, we don't see ourselves. We see what people see. So if you go somewhere and you pass 3 people and those 3 people say, ooh, ooh, that's what you see. You're going to be like, where? Which is why if I'm sitting there talking to you and I do this, you're going to be like, oh. Right? Because you see what I'm doing. Oh, he must be telling me I got something on my nose. Then now I'm kind of little something on my face, and you think you got, so now me and you both looking like we got ticks, and they wondering what's wrong with us. Because we see outward more than we see inward. So now we see what the world sees, and we try to become, I want to be accepted. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to be accepted. And once you get accepted, whether it's by false pretense, meaning you just been pretending the whole time, you haven't been revealing your hurt, the last thing you want to do is change. Why would you change? Because now people going to really look at me different. I don't want nobody saying you did. If you get married, the first thing people, oh, you changing. You going to lead the board. You going to do this. Man, I'm trying to find happiness. You ain't going to be with me. I don't want to be 2 old men in a house. I want a wife. But they going to judge me because I got married. People do you. And anytime you change, people got something to say. So we don't want to change. But when we look at what God wants for us, go to 2 Corinthians. I'm going to tell you about this freedom that you have. 2 Corinthians 3, verses 16 through 18. But whenever, notice this key word, whenever. Doesn't matter what part of life you're in, where you are in your story. Whenever. Say whenever. Whenever. All right. Whenever anyone turns to the Lord, okay, whether he 10, whether he 110, whenever anyone turns to the Lord, the veil is taken away. Now the Lord is the Spirit. And where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is what? Freedom. Freedom. There is freedom. So that means this whole time you have been bound up. And where the Spirit of the Lord is, which means that you've taken on that Spirit, there is freedom. And go to 18. And we all who with unveiled faces contemplates the Lord's glory are being transformed or changed into his image with ever increasing glory, which comes from the Lord who is the Spirit. When we write our story, people, we write it based upon who we imagine ourselves to be, who we think we are, who we want to be. But a lot of times we don't write things based on who we really are. Why? Because we don't have the freedom to. We only have the freedom right now to write within the confines of what we know. What he said is, I am bigger than what you can even imagine. So if he's bigger than what we can imagine, how can I write my story with what I can't even imagine? I can't. I'm going to have myself limited in every area because I'm going to say, I'm going to go for this job. This the top. This the best I can do. I'm going to go for this in my marriage. This the top. This the best I can do. I want my kids to get here. This the top. This the best they can do. Everything's going to have a top to it because you feel limited. You've only attained so much in your life. You only can do so much. And guess what? The people that are around you, you look at the most successful one, and that's kind of what we aim for. Because that's what you know. You don't know all these super, super rich people. So you don't even think about that. The only way you think about that is if I win the lottery, I guess I can get there. That's your goal. Is either go as high as I can with what I got or win the lottery. That's rough, right? But if we give God it, you look at what God can do when he starts to write your story. He takes places that you didn't even know you could get to. But how did he do that? Because he's there with you always. In Jeremiah 29:11, he says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. So when we write our story, a lot of times we're not even truthful with what we're doing. We say things to give ourselves excuses. Even when we're honest about who we are. I'm an angry person. Well, the only reason I'm angry is because of how I was raised, and that we give ourselves an excuse. Yeah, I did a bad thing. Well, I had to do it because we give ourselves an excuse. We're still not completely honest with what we're doing, why we decided to do it, and that maybe we're just making bad decisions. We don't tackle the core. So that's why we got to give it to God so he can get that stuff out of there. And now you can have freedom to change. Because see, when you have freedom to do what you want to do and be what God wants you to do, it gives you peace. So that when people come at you and be like, man, you changing. I am. Thank you, God. I didn't even know. I know I was becoming this person. See, when you try to change yourself, you just start cutting people off ugly. You just start deleting numbers out your phone and putting it on ignore. Now they're looking at you different because of how you handle things. But when you change what God wants you to, people start to notice subtle differences in your life. And then you will start to notice internally how that is reflected upon them. How you are starting now to have a positive impact versus a negative impact. How you are starting to move people along with you because God's light is shining in their life as it is in your life. So when we look at, as our story progresses, things start to become fulfilled. Goals start to be reached. When we look at what we want to do, let me think how I want to say this. So when God gives us something, when we want to, I'll say this, when we want to get somewhere, when we want to obtain a goal, we think about money, we think about success, we think about fame, we think about these big things, right? Good jobs, big house, nice car, good clothes. And as we do those things, we secondarily think about along the way, I will get happiness, I will get joy, I will get peace, I will get understanding. Because if I'm focused on what I need to focus on, which is being successful, successful to me looks like nice clothes, wealthy, nice car, looked the part, kids looking good, wife looking good. And in my mind, I'm like, you know what, if I make that my goal, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to have joy. I'm going to have peace because that's my goal, is to get this stuff, right? And that's why we do a lot of things. Okay, Now, here's the thing. When we start putting that money and that stuff up there, you ever notice how it never really works to give you peace? A lot of y'all making more money now than you were when you were 17. But the more money you make, seems like your bills go up. So it looked like, okay, I made this amount of money, but then I bought this amount of stuff. So I still only got this amount of money to spend. But now I make this amount of money. Then I got this amount of stuff, but I still only got this amount to spend. So I got more stuff, but I got the same problems, because just because my money went up, so did my spending. And guess what? So do people, because now people say, oh, you got some money. Can I borrow? Oh, my goodness. You didn't borrow from when I ain't had nothing, because you didn't have nothing. So now you got more problems. The more stuff you get, guess what? The more stuff people want. I want to get me a truck. I got me a truck. Can you help me move? Don't want no truck. Why? Because people want to use your truck. That's what trucks do. So when you think about it, the more you get, the more requests you get, the more attention you get, the more stuff that starts to happen in your life. Why they say more money, more problems, right? But here's the difference, and this is what I want to show you. This is how God works. So when that's our focus, it really never works. God is set up that when he writes your story, he makes joy, peace, happiness, consistency, long-suffering. He makes those things the goal. Along the way to get joy, peace, and happiness, you get money, you get success, you get peace of mind as well. How is that possible? Because you're now more content. I can tell you now, no matter how much money you get, if you're looking for money to bring you happiness, you will never have enough money, because it's going to be like a drug. It's just like somebody who do drugs. As soon as they do it, you would think, oh, I'm good. Nope, they looking for it again. Because I've seen people who won the lottery. I will tell y'all this story. I just want y'all to understand. I went to Vegas. As I'm in Vegas, I'm at a conference. I get a cab, I'm leaving the conference, and the cab driver's talking to me. He said, man, can I talk to you? I said, sure, you can talk to me. He said, I just had a counseling session with this young man. I don't know if I told him right. I said, well, what happened? He said, my man came into the casino. He went to the slot machine with some free chips that his company had gave him. He pulled the slot, cling, and it started going off. Next thing you know, he $2 million richer. I said, well, that was a nice trip. And he said, no, it gets worse. So they come to him and they say, hey, man, you just got $2 million. They took the taxes out. They gave him what was left, which was $1 million and some change. Since you're now got some money, would you like to visit our high rollers room? And he said, man, he told them that felt good. Winning that money felt good. But now he went upstairs to where people who can just lose money and don't care are playing. So meaning like your big wigs who say, I just put 100,000 on that. All right, never mind, lost that, and they'll move on. He goes up there and starts playing. Next thing you know, he has $10,000 left. So I said, man, what happened? He said, well, when he won the money, he called his fiance, and he told his fiance, we can get the house, we can furnish it off, we can get the wedding you want, and we can still have money left. And she said, how? He said, I just won $2 million, but I got $1 million and some change. So his whole goal during that time while he was losing money is to get back what he had so he wouldn't go home looking crazy. So he said while he was in the cab, he receives another phone call, and it's his mother-in-law. And the mother-in-law said, we just closed on the house. We just signed the papers while you were gone. Can't wait till you get back so we can go ahead and pay this thing off. And she went and she picking out the furniture to lay it out now. We so excited and proud of you. It's going to be a long trip home. That happened over a 3-day period. Can you imagine the roller coaster? Now that seems really extreme, I know. And y'all say, man, if I hit that money, I'll leave. You probably would. But think about how we live our life a lot of times. When we go buy stuff, a lot of times, don't it feel good to come home with all them bags you done tried on, and then lay your stuff out and try it on again? Or put them shoes out there and get your toothbrush and clean them off. Put your new shoes on there. Like, well, I need the protective spray for these. Set them out for 24 hours. Can't wear them because, don't want no damage. We do that. And it's a little bit of a high because you got something new. And a lot of times we go out chasing things in life. So many people are chasing things in life. A lot of times, we talked about dating last week. A lot of people like to date. They don't like relationships. Why? Because the newness of it. It feels good. It gives you a rush. There are so many people out here who need something because they don't have a good foundation and they are not willing to allow God to change them. They keep trying to go for something and become something that they're not today, but they're imagining themselves as in the future. But at the same time, people, we don't even know what God wants us to be. So how can we obtain what he wants when we don't even know what it is? When we turn to him, we got to know that he has us in right standing. Our last verse for today is Ephesians 2:10. Ephesians 2:10 says, for we are God's handiwork. We are created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared when? In advance for us to do. Your purpose has already been laid out, and it is great. No matter what you may think, your purpose is great. Regardless of your background, regardless of your failures, regardless of your disappointments, regardless of your regrets, regardless of if you don't feel worthy, if you feel less than, if people have made you feel less than, if stuff has happened to you, if you had a good life and you just haven't obtained the goals that you think other people want, regardless of your situation, God has a purpose for you that is just for you. But when we allow him to write the story, we can start to see this purpose, and we can start to see the consistency that comes in our life. So you want a consistent story that he is writing, and he is always an active member of your life. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. He will never turn away from you. And when you can see that love, when you know that somebody got you, I want you to understand what it means to never be forsaken. I will never leave my kids. Will never forsake them. Will never turn on them. But you know what? A lot of that's not in my control. I could go out there now and something bad could happen. I get struck by lightning. I could be the most safe person you know, doing right, eating right. All of a sudden, I walk outside and boom, lightning strike. Gone. What happened to my kids? I'm not here. Well, it's not my fault. Didn't say it was your fault. But you're not here. So what do they have? I can't make that commitment. I can say I don't want to, and you know I'll always be there. You know where my heart is, but that's out of my control. And it's out of every human's control. But God says he will never forsake you. Think about the power of that. You have somebody in your life who will never, ever, ever leave you. Even if you try to leave them, they will be there all the time, just for you. Now, you're going to have disappointments. Guess what? My kids going to have disappointments. And no matter how much I'm there, it's going to be like, that's just daddy. It's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. I'm going to give them all them words of encouragement that they need. But it's still going to be just daddy. But when it comes from God, when he has been writing their story, when he has been putting their purpose out there, that is a different type of control. And now they know they have the freedom to live. I want y'all to know one thing about today. You have the freedom to be who you really are. We have been restricted way too long because we have been going off of what we think we should be and what the world thinks we should be. You have the freedom to be who you really are. There are so many times where I've seen people who live in Atlanta and they act a certain way. And all of a sudden I may have ran into them when I was on vacation in Florida. And they skateboarding and doing that. No, I'm free. Because they don't have to be in the confines of the judgment of their peers. They can do things that they really want to. There's certain music that people like that they try to hide because they think they'll be judged. certain look that you want to dress, but you feel you'll be judged. Imagine what it's like to be completely free from judgment of people, to be completely free from judgment of yourself, who God really wants you to be. All we have to do is know we are his handiwork, give him the pen, and say, Lord, just write my story. Please make me who I am supposed to be, and give me just live and be peaceful and joyous. Isn't that a blessing?